Hey, manufacturing world, welcome to another episode of Shop Matters, sponsored by Okuma America. I'm your host, Wade Anderson. We are broadcasting once again live from the Okuma booth here at IMTS 2022. We are in the middle of day 3, and I am almost completely worn out, but we're hanging in there. So joining me in the booth here today, I've got the two Scotts from MetalQuest, Scott Harms and Scott Volk. So welcome, guys. I appreciate you taking time out of the day to join me here.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Wade.
Yeah, so we'll start on the end. Scott, why don't you introduce yourself? Just tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about the company, and we'll do the same for you.
All right. Scott Volk, I'm the Vice President, Chief Operating Officer. I've been with the company since 2002. We're a contract manufacturer. We have 2 locations in Hebron, Nebraska, and in Hayden, Idaho. We started our Idaho location about a year and a half ago. It was the beginning of 2021. So we have 13 employees out in Idaho, and we have 66 employees in Hebron. So as a contract shop, what makes us a little different is we've always kind of been ahead of the curve with automation and data analytics. We started working with Okuma very early on. I think 2003, 2004, we started doing machine monitoring and really kind of took it from there. Started doing automation robotics in 2011. We built that out. We now have 15 Fennec robots running across the shop, and really took our data analytics to a whole different level. So it's really interesting to see the things that people are talking about now are things that we've been doing for the last 12 or 15 years, and we're trying to stay on the leading edge of that and figuring out what is new so we can continue to stay on the leading edge.
That's awesome. Very good. Scott, how about you?
Hi, I'm Scott Harms with MetalQuest. I'm the president. I've been with the company since 1996 when I started. It's been a very fun journey. We are big supporters of IMTS. We're really glad to be here again. We've learned a lot. We've made a lot of good relationships at IMTS, and the focus for us this time, building off what Scott Volk said, is going to be the automation and the technology aspect, and truly trying to do more, with less, because obviously everybody knows labor availability is such a huge issue today, and those are the big focuses that we have.
So from that aspect, you have 66 employees in Nebraska, and then 13 in your new facility in Idaho. Are you seeing, is there a difference in how you recruit or get people in one location versus the other?
We've always really tried to bring a fun aspect to what we do, and we tried to recruit just based on that. Being in rural Nebraska, we've always had a challenge. It's a lower population density, where it's at, but the people there usually typically have good work ethics and a lot of mechanical type skills. But from the very beginning, because there's not machinists everywhere, we've had to do a lot of training. So what we really try and do from a recruitment standpoint in both locations is to promote our company as being, very positive, to take the manufacturing industry and try and break the negative stereotypes that have traditionally been attached to it over the years. It's unfortunate, when so much of the manufacturing left, there were, people think machining is dirty and it's loud and it's noisy. And we really have a facility, and many companies like us have facilities that we're all proud of, that are anything but. They're very high technology, they're very efficient, they're well lit, they're quiet, very professional. And we really try through social media, through all other avenues, through our YouTube channel, to show some of the very positive things we're doing to help give manufacturing a positive image again, because it truly is a tech sector, and it is so valuable for this entire nation.
Scott, what's your thoughts?
So like Scott was saying, I think what we try to do is make our place someplace fun to work. So that's really the key. And I think a lot of the technology that we bring to the table is an attraction to bringing people in, because we're not just competing with other manufacturers. We're competing with every other industry. Everybody's hurting for people right now. We have to do something different. So luckily, this is something that we've always had, this philosophy. We want to be different. We want to be a place that people want to come work. And then adding to that technology on top is kind of the cherry on top, where it's someplace it's like, that makes us unique. There's going to be fun, exciting things for us to do. And now you had asked about the difference between the 2 different locations. Most of it is similar. Scott mentioned, a lot of the people that we find in Nebraska don't have manufacturing experience, but they have a lot of that really good mechanical aptitude and great work ethic, and so they're super easy to train. Out in Idaho, we've been able to find people that have more experience, that have worked in a manufacturing facility before, so that would be one difference. But beyond that, it's really about the same. one of the things that attracted us to Idaho is the similarities to Nebraska. It just, the area that we're at just has the same kind of feel to it. And obviously a lot of different scenery outside the building, but other than that, it, you know, just the kind of the same values and the same type of feel to it. And so that's why we ended up being where we're at.
Okay. Have you found it difficult to maintain the same culture between the two locations?
That I guess that's been fun. It's been rewarding. We had some people move from Nebraska to help really set that foundation from the start. So, you know, we really tried to take what we did in Nebraska and just extend it. You know, I give Scott Volk a lot of credit from our overall software standpoint. You know, the infrastructure that he really helped build. You know, we took a lot of those systems and put it in place. We took that same Nebraska culture. You know, we replicated that with new additions, you know, at Idaho. And it really just became an extension, kind of like an ultimate remote working type environment. So we truly have another MetalQuest sitting out there that we work together with, you know, every single day, every single hour. You know, probably the biggest obstacle, and this sounds dumb, is the 2-hour time difference. Yeah. That's kind of annoying. But other than that, I mean, I can call him just like I was sitting in my office, you know, next to him. You know, it's very easy. You know, technology has really done some amazing things.
It was really important for us to have one MetalQuest. You know, like Scott was saying, it's no different than if the building was right next door to the one in Nebraska. So from the personnel to the technology to everything we're doing, we have one MetalQuest. Felt that for us to be successful long term, that's what we needed to do. You know, we didn't want to compete with each other. We need to be one family, one team, working together. And, you know, it's had its struggles. I mean, we've never done this before. So, but I think we've done a good job. And in a couple of years, I think we've come a really long ways. And we're definitely on the right track where we want to be.
Absolutely. And that includes bringing both groups together at IMTS.
Yeah, we have
going out time together.
We have 17 people from MetalQuest here from both locations.
No kidding. That's fantastic. Yep. So, as a company, how do you leverage IMTS? How do you guys kind of, and I asked guests yesterday this, how do you block and tackle a show this big? I mean, do you come in with a preset game plan of specific things that you're looking for, or do you say, hey, here's a few things, but then just go discover and see what you come up with, and then do a recap at the end of the day? I mean, what's your strategy on that?
So, probably the second one you said, it's a little bit of both, where there needs to be a plan. If you go in and you're completely blind, you're going to be so lost, you're not going to know what to do. You need to have a strategy, but you also need to give yourself time to look around. But when you have a team, then you also need to divide and conquer. So if we have people in different areas right now taking care of different things, then we'll come back and talk about it. If we all went and looked at the same thing, it'd be a complete waste of time. But if we can each do our own thing and focus on that, then we can come back together, talk about what we've learned, and figure out how we're going to move the company forward.
Yeah. Our quality guys, obviously spending time in the quality type booth. You know, our work holding guys, you know, and the guys that are more the machinists, you know, they're going to spend time in work holding and, you know, looking at the tooling and stuff like that. You know, everybody likes the machines. Everybody loves coming to the Okuma booth and, you know, seeing the new technology and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a combination of divide and conquer. It's also a combination of a little bit of preparedness at the beginning. Just going over, you know, like, hey, you have similar objectives. You have similar strategies. Why don't you guys team up and hang out together and, you know, teach some of the guys that have never been here. You know, this is such a huge show. You know, we tell everybody it takes one show before you can really understand like how to get the most out of it for the next one.
Yeah, that's great. So you had mentioned the data collection and the I forgot the term that you used. My mind just went blank. All of the information that you're extracting from the process, data collection and everything that you do, harnessing really the power of the PC control. Tell me, how did that start, and how do you leverage that in your manufacturing process?
So it started in 2004, I believe, at IMTS 2004
so
in the
that
Okuma booth.
When the Think Control really first got started?
Well, we actually started before the Think Control even.
Okay. It was just getting, it was
707,000 controls.
We
still have 707,000 controls connected to MacMan now.
Yeah. Okay. But we were given the opportunity to try out MacMan, which no longer around. It's a very old product that I doubt exists anywhere right now. But we were able to tie into the machine control, and from that evolved into us being able to use MacMan Net, and that evolved into Connect Plan. And so currently today we're on Connect Plan, which should be the third iteration of machine monitoring from Okuma. We do a lot of other data collection. easiest way to put it is if you, as a customer, if you gave me a packing slip, I could tell you every single point of the journey of every part that went through our shop, from costing to who touched it to what locations it was at, what machines it ran on. We do that on every single part that's going through the shop. We have all kinds of data that's coming in and out from all of our systems, from our people, from the transactions. Figure out, to get that data collected and bring it together at the end. But it started with MacMan, and now I can, at the end of a job, I can run a job cost report, and I know exactly how much time the machine ran on that job. I know how much time clock was put to that, how much tooling was put to it, how much raw materials. So it's really, we have a very accurate job costing in near real time. And like as soon as that job is closed out, I have that report at my fingertips, and we can react to that, make adjustments, so we're ready for that next time that we run the job.
That was going to be my next question, is where do you see the value? So many people, they get involved in data acquisition, and there's so much data that's available at your fingertips, but then it becomes overwhelming. How do you know where's the value points?
Yeah.
What data is important versus how much of it just becomes noise at some point?
If anybody hear me say this now, was on Monday, I gave a talk for the Job Shop conference. And the thing I said at that point was, you need to have the right data at the right place at the right time, the right people. And that's a challenge. We don't have that figured out yet. I mean, it's a constant daily thing, but it is so easy to overwhelm with data. So you need to make sure you have that right data point to the right person when they need it, delivered the way they need it. And we do a pretty good job of that, but there's always room for improvement. But yeah, you have to be very, very careful as you start collecting data that you understand exactly what you want to do with it and how you're going to deliver it and who needs to see it. Otherwise, everybody's going to just not even look at it because there's too much coming at them.
Yeah. So many people don't even do any machine monitoring. The status lights probably are the most machine monitoring they have. And to me, it's just keeping it simple. I mean, one of our core values, is keep it simple. And the overall utilization of the machine tool, if you look at nothing other than that, focus on that first. Because, it's amazing sometimes, how inconsistent people are, whether it be from one person to another, one shift to another. And this isn't a bad thing against one person. It's just different people do things different ways. And from a continuous improvement standpoint, there's so much to be gained by just understanding the throughput of that machine. It's like you can make purchasing decisions based on that. You can say, hey, this machine right here is actually running better than I thought. This machine's running worse. Why? They're running very similar parts. Maybe it's a tooling strategy. Maybe it's a work holding strategy. It allows you to really build at the core level, what it takes to keep that machine going. Because at the end of the day, process control is where it's at. You have utilization and you have process control. Those are core foundations to efficiency. So
I'm a data nerd. And so the thing I'm geeking out on right now is we have a really nice OEE report. We're able to drill down. So there's something that some of us are looking at on a daily basis. In our scheduling meeting every Monday, we review as a group and really dive into the numbers. Why is our availability not where it should be? Why isn't our productivity where it needs to be? Why is our quality not where it needs to be? And you start asking those questions, and I have seen a significant improvement in our throughput and our profitability since we started using that report, because it really makes people think and look at things differently than they did before.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you had mentioned about automation. All your focus moving forward and some of your key goals here at the show is to study automation, see where automation is going. What trends have you seen, say, from the previous show or from IMTS 4 years ago to where we're at today, and the vision that you guys have for MetalQuest moving forward? What changes have you seen in the last 4 or 5 years?
So the biggest change, obviously, cobots. People think cobots are more present in more applications. And obviously, there's a huge emphasis on cobots at this show. Cobots are just part of it, though. We've talked a lot about data. Data directly ties into that. And I think probably the biggest thing I've seen through each show is now the increased awareness and emphasis. Being in rural Nebraska, as I mentioned, we've never really had the population density to hire whoever we wanted, whenever we wanted. So, for the last 15 and 20 years, we've really been building the automation side of our business. But, after COVID in particular, the rest of the United States is really kind of understanding what we've been, facing for a long time. So now there's this heightened awareness that, hey, we really do need to be more efficient at the core level, and we really cannot do things the way we've done them for the last 50 years just because. None of these concepts are taking jobs, and that's, people are finally starting to get that. They're trying to create, work and opportunities in areas that they literally can't find people for. So yeah, it's like, I think there's a heightened awareness at this show. I think there's new collaboration between many companies that is really kind of bringing out the best of new ideas.
In 2018, well, actually 2016, we started seeing a few more robots. And in 2018, I remember the big talk of everybody is how many robots there were at IMTS. It was like, that was like a whole new thing. I think what's different this time is the practical application of those robots. It's moved beyond the gimmicky phase. This is, what is this? Now it's, people realize this is something that we need and people are used to it. And it's not like this new thing, but it's like, I need to figure out how to make this robot work in my factory. And people having a seriously trying to figure out how to make that work. Not just machine tending, but other things that you can do with that robot. I've had several conversations this week with people that the holy grail is, how do I deburr? How do I use that robot for things other than just loading and unloading a machine? And that's a challenge. But we were just in the FANUC booth right before we came here, and we were talking about, we got to see the first bin loading robot, whenever that was, way long ago, with pulling connecting rods out. And the time it was really wonky and the robot missed half the time. You have to start somewhere. And I think we're at that new cusp where people are starting to see that, we have these robots, we know what they can do, but we need them to do more. Now, how do we do that? And throwing that challenge out to the people that can actually think that through, figure that out.
Yeah. I got to spend a little bit of time with James Cooper from FANUC Robotics here this morning. He sat down and talked with me a little bit, and we talked a little bit on AMRs and the tying in robots to AGVs and really doing a lot of the things that you and I would be doing, walking over, changing tools, doing maintenance on machines, adding oil, checking coolant levels, just different things like that. There's so many things that a collaborative robot tied to an AGV that all of a sudden is interfacing to the control, that takes things to a whole different level, and that's here now. So it's really neat to see how this has really evolved over the last couple of years.
Yeah, with the shortage of people we have, everyone really needs to start thinking about what is the best use of the people that I have. And some of these things that you might think, well, that's not really a good practical application for a robot. Well, when you only have a certain number of people, you need to start looking at things differently. So things like machine maintenance, a lot of people would write that off right away, but that person who's doing machine maintenance could absolutely could be doing something more value added. So maybe it's time to start thinking about stuff like that. We talked to Zoller this morning, and they're looking at the holistic tool management automation piece. And it's not something a lot of people are talking about right now, but I think that's where we need to start thinking about next, is how we can start automating that stuff outside of the machining envelope to keep our machines running as productive as possible with the people that we have available to us.
Right. Good stuff. Well, guys, thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate your time
Absolutely.
today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
All right. And thank you for joining us. We'll talk to you soon.